So Josie, you mentioned that we can use seeds as treats.
Yes.
But there are some precautions we should take while doing this, right?
Yes, of course we can use the sunflower and the peanut and the almonds as treats. They're highly palatable, they're very fatty, and so it's very important that we must educate customers or caretakers to actually give small morsels of them.
Right.
The whole philosophy of actually giving food treats is one that can be debated as well. If it's given every time when we're rewarding a bird, then it becomes an obsession. Some of the birds actually become a little neurotic and are just performing to get a little piece of morsel of sunflower seeds. This is not a behavior that we want to see in our companion birds. They should be performing because they're happy to do so and they're engaging in something that's actually fun for them as well. And so we have to be careful not to create what we call sunflower seed junkies. The other consideration that needs to be mentioned is that these seeds are very high in fat and oils and very palatable. So we can definitely destroy all of the work that we've tried to do with offering our birds a healthy foundation, a healthy diet. And birds can then also start to be accustomed to eating their favorite foods only when they're out of the cage being trained. Whereas their healthy food should be eaten inside of the cage. So it's very important to give some of these seed rewards periodically, not always. And once again, we have other things we can do to reward our birds.
Sure.
And so this is something that must be mentioned, very small morsels of food and not always a food treat.
Of course, there's a difference in the caloric requirements of a bird that's in a cage, a small cage, or one that's in a large flight, or one that's flying in a zoo.
Absolutely, and I think that animal trainers need to take a different approach when we're actually trying to educate companion parrot owners to training techniques. If this bird is going to be used in a show and fly freely numerous times during the day in a bird park, there's definitely a different caloric need, and the nutritional value of the food it will consume is not the same as a bird that's a perch potato in a cage that perhaps exercises a little bit. But the reality is they don't exercise that much. And therefore, the technique and the approach must be different for these two different types of scenarios, for sure.
So there would be a danger in using these seeds as treats for birds that have recently been weaned or are in the process of weaning?
Well, we believe so. Our philosophy here is quite strict on that. Our early parrot education, as you know, goes hand in hand with the weaning stages. And these, for some of the larger species, such as the macaws, go well into their 7 or 8 months of age, where they're going through all the different stages of weaning and education. And therefore, we, as a rule here, never use a food reward of any kind to train our birds. Of course, the birds are never starved as well.
Right.
Because we know that birds are gregarious and they need to eat all the time. Therefore, depriving a bird from food just prior to a training session is definitely not advisable. Psychologically, it would not make any sense.
Right. It's kind of like if we were to send our children off to school without a good breakfast.
Yes, they can't focus. Just half an hour ago, we wanted to start doing a little bit of the podcast, and my head was just not working anymore because I couldn't concentrate anymore. I needed to eat.
Right.
And I believe that in working here at Haru with a lot of animal trainers of different kinds of animals, such as horses, Kevina does a lot of the work with the horses as well, starving any kind of animal or depriving it of food just prior to a training session is never advisable. I think that we've seen the benefits of nurturing our birds, mentoring our birds, modeling and allowing our birds to look at us and actually using food at the training stand, the healthy weaning granules or the Tropican sticks that they're used to eating, and actually eating a stick with them in between training segments, then that can even engage your bird to mimic you even more because they feel comfortable because you're eating with them. And that is, I believe, much more valuable to the bird's long-term mental health, stability, and confidence in you. You know, we've all seen these birds performing tricks and their eyes are palpating because they're dilating the pupils because the birds want that seed. They don't even think about what they're doing, whether they're turning on a perch or they're singing a particular segment of a song. All they want is the addictive, or what some people think is an addictive sunflower seed. Yet it is the palatable and action of receiving this only when they've performed. And I think this is not what we want for our companion birds. We want our birds to have fun with us. And I think acting a little foolish with them and actually performing these little tricks with them is also as valuable. And of course, we use a lot of vocal phrases, facial expressions. Not all of us are quite vocal. I'm very vocal, but other people that work here, again, Kavina, who does a lot of the education with our birds, is not that vocal, but she definitely uses the eye contact. And the birds do know, based on her physical posture and her facial expression, whether or not this is an acceptable behavior, whether or not we're actually doing things and we're doing it the right way. So I think we've probably overdone it with the seed treats, and we definitely need to find other alternatives for that.